Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Top Fly Pod. I'm your host, Hernan. Of course, you can call me H. Back on screen today, beautiful Austin, Texas. One more episode on screen. I promise we will be back in studio very, very, very soon next week. Of course, Austin FC is out of office. We're out of office as well. Some of the lads took a break. We got B on the road, hitting up Houston and Arlington, covering all the Copa Oro stuff that we can here in the state of Texas. But we'll get into some of the details here as the show goes on. Big shout out to the folks on Patreon. Big shout out to the folks on our Discord. Big shout out to Tupepito ATX, of course, sponsoring We're Austin TV, helping us out with our coverage here of the club that we all love. Excuse me, the Verde and Black, right? Now, like I said, the club is out of office. The boys are on vacation, but there are some things here and there that we can get into on the Austin FC side of things. But let's get into it, right? Got a little bit of a lot to talk about. Now, I want to start off with the boys, of course, being on vacation. It's a little bit of a easy, fun topic to cover, and we can get out of the way with no problem. Now, as you can see, if you've been following the boys on social media, everybody, and I mean everybody, I think, has hit the road with their family, packed the bags, and said, you know what? It's a good time to hit the beach with the family. And that's exactly what they did. I'm talking Brandon Vasquez, John Gallagher, Mirtu Uzuni, Dani Pereira, Alexander Svatok. Am I missing somebody? Guillermo Vito going to Disney with his family. I mean, just a lot of good stuff being posted by the lads. Love to keep up with them in this period of recharge, right? That's what Brandon Vasquez kind of put it as simple on this latest Instagram post that he had up there. Just recharge, post with the family, Father's Day weekend, and from an Austin FC fan perspective, you love to see something like this. You love to see things like this because, especially after the month of May, all the hardships that the fans had to go through, the players had to go through, the coaching staff had to go through with injuries, just fitness issues, just planning games out and not really being able to work on tactics with your team because the main focus was just recovery, recovery, recovery. The lads now have a break, and not only do they have to recover with the instructions that they receive from the coaching staff, you just recover plain old-fashioned way with the fam. Now, one of the players that I would want to spend maybe a little bit of time talking about is Mirtu Uzuni, because there's a huge narrative going on in the fan base and on the Discord chat, especially saying that Mirtu really needed this break. Mirtu really needed to be with his family. He really needed to carry his son for the first time. And we finally, we got that in the Albanian national team international break window, yes, but it was only 10 minutes, 15 minutes is what everybody was told. He only was able to spend very little time with his family, with his newborn son, and it just wasn't enough for Mirtu. He had to fly out for international break, fly back to play a game for Austin FC, and then fly back to be with his family. But I'm sure he doesn't care about the travel, about the hours having to spend on an airplane, because there's really just no price you can put on the fact that you're finally able to spend some real quality time with your family, but also a new member of your family. That's your freaking son. I mean, come on. So I'm very excited to see the version of Mirtu Uzuni that we get now for Austin FC. I know a lot of fans at home listening to this are thinking, how many more times are we going to say this? How many more times are we going to say, oh, well, Mirtu Uzuni, he's finally going to have that click? And I wanted to mention this with the topic of the break, is that there's no more excuses, right? There's no more excuses for a guy like Mirtu Uzuni. And I'm somebody that's been in his corner. I'm somebody that has not given up on him yet because I know that there's quality in there. We just haven't been able to pull it out of him yet, right? Maybe the system is not, maybe getting the best out of him. But this is maybe the last thing that you could hold on to if you're in Mirtu's corner and say, hey, just wait for this to happen. After this happens, the switch will engage. Mirtu Uzuni will finally kick on for Austin FC. And I'm thinking this is the moment. I'm thinking this is a moment, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. At the end of the day, he is a designated player. He is probably getting paid some big bucks for Austin FC. And although you do want to give him time to adjust and really just find his rhythm with the team, when you have that tag DP, designated player, the fan base just doesn't have that much patience with you because you're brought in to be that guy. You're brought in to score the goals. You're brought in to bail this team out of these poor offensive situations. So hopefully this is what Mirtu needed. Hopefully this is what the offensive needed to finally click. I'm talking about BV, Bukhari, and Mirtu Uzuni. Now, there's other guys like John Gallagher that also took advantage of this break, but what can you really ask for of John Gallagher when he's giving you just so much on both sides of the pitch, offensively and defensively? But also to go along with this break, you also have maybe some guys that you're going to recover from injury. I mean, how is Julio Cascante doing, right? We're going to hear from Coach Esteves midweek, maybe on the status of Julio Cascante, how he's doing, how he's recovering. Also, Jimmy Farcarden, another guy that's hanging out with his family, really just taking in this time to recover himself from I believe it was a hamstring injury that got him also. So after this break, you could recover Julio Cascante. You could mentally recover a lot of these players as well. So it could be the perfect time for Austin FC to start putting positive results together. And I say positives, not just wins. I also would consider some draws in certain stadiums as positives as this season progresses. And we do got to mention the games that are coming up for Austin FC with this period of rest that we're talking about. Of course, after this break is over, when the guys come back, you got the Seattle Sounders against Austin FC. That game is away from home, Saturday, June 28th, 9:30 p.m. here Central Time. A little bit of a late kickoff, sure, but of course, Austin FC sickos, I include myself in there, will be up watching this game. After that, you got LAFC at home. That's going to be a little bit of an interesting match. Both teams, got to remember, both teams pretty much, I know LAFC's done, but Seattle, they need a miracle. Both teams eliminated pretty much from the Club World Cup. It's going to be very interesting to see just what kind of version you get from them, because Seattle, you're going to get them a little bit more tired. But LAFC, they might have a little bit more time to rest up, might have a little bit of more time to just plan for this Austin FC match, but we'll see what happens. And then after those two games, y'all, look what you got on screen there. Look what you have. You have the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal coming up, San Jose versus Austin FC, July 8th. So 3 big matches coming up for Austin. And although I didn't have this team beating the Red Bulls at home, I had them getting the result against Seattle. I see them getting the result against this team, Seattle. I see them getting the win, not just the draw, but the win at Lumen Field. Another thing to note, I was listening to my G's, the emergency pod homies, my G, Moises, and also Phil, Verde All Day Substack. They were mentioning about what is the status of Lumen Field going to be when Austin FC goes into town. We got to take care of our players. I don't want to talk too much about the turf. I know I get cooked all the time for that on the Discord chat, but it's a reality. Jude Bellingham today, Real Madrid match, post-match, talked to the media about how poor the field was. And he said that this is something that they needed to look at for next year's World Cup. You got to take care of the players. He said it was harsh on the knees. The bounce on the ball wasn't good enough. So, hey, it's not just me saying it, y'all. It's Jude Bellingham chiming in on the whole turf situation. So we'll see what the state of Lumen Field is. We know that Austin FC will be there to play against the Sounders. And like I said, the result, the 3 points could very easily be in the bag for Austin FC. Players are recharged. Players saw their family. Players are happy. And Seattle, I mean, although they did give us a good face in the Club World Cup, the results didn't go their way. At least they're going to be just to close out on the vacation. Is this reset going to be good for the lads? I'm really hoping it is. I know folks were telling me, yo, H, this might be bad for their momentum. Momentum is a great thing, and you build on it. You build it. And this break kind of halts plans, halts this good moment for the team. But we'll see how they respond. We got to give them that. There has been times in world football where a team has the momentum and then they go on a FIFA break and then they come back and things are different. I've seen it with multiple teams across Europe when the FIFA break just destroys the kind of rhythm, momentum that they had. And I've also seen times where the team just comes back from international breaks or some kind of break and they're marvelous. So I'm hoping that Austin FC falls on that side of playing great. They do have a maybe wounded Seattle that they're going to be able to focus on at home. Seattle at least has that they'll be at home. And that's a huge thing in MLS. But we'll see just what kind of effect this has on the team. Hoping it's a good one. I know that last week we talked about it with Huddy from Austin FC News and also Maiji Tucker Primo as well about what they thought this break was going to do to the boys. So hopefully it's good. Hopefully it is good, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we talked about Seattle, what we're expecting from that match, full speed ahead, best starting 11 possible for Austin FC. I think a lot of people know what the best starting 11 is. It includes Owen, it includes Savovic, Dani Pereira for sure, having a hard time thinking about Ilya Sanchez because I know of his experience and how much of a player he is. But some of these younger guys, I think they need to also take charge of this team. Ilya can only do so much. He can only do so much, right? But in the attack, I expect to see Mirto Uzuni. I expect to see Brandon Vasquez, of course, and Osman Bukari. I know John Gallagher was doing the job. He got the start against Red Bulls New York. But the position is Mirto Uzuni's. And guys like John Gallagher are doing fantastic to give him a good fight for the spot. And that's what a good team needs. They need competition everywhere. And that's something that the coaching staff and Rodo was highlighting all this year and just all of the offseason is that their main goal with the Robert Taylor signing, they said that their main goal is to have competition at every spot and that nobody's role is safe. So I'm loving the competition all around, all around. So full speed ahead against Seattle, full speed ahead. Hopefully we have everybody back. That's another question. Do you start Cascante? I probably wouldn't. I rate him myself, but I like the Svatok Hines like partnership that we're seeing right now. No need to mess with it right now. Keep those guys on. Guilherme Viru, Hines like Svatok, and of course Miko Dessler has his spot there. Now to talk a little bit about the Austin FC Academy. Now they did go 0 for 3 at the MLS Next Cup. A little bit of a dagger in my heart, I'm not gonna lie, because shout out to Mikey Tucker. I feel like it was just yesterday when we were going to the early academy games on the weekend to watch some of these guys play. Because I was hearing from parents saying, "Hey, y'all should come and check out these games." I was hearing from other people like, "Hey, have you heard about this player in this age group?" "Oh, I haven't heard about it. You should come check them out. They're really good." "Okay, we'll go check them out." And it hurts because seeing all of their work build up this season, all of those age groups found success at different points of the year. And I stay with one thing that Coach Marco of the U15s had posted on one of his stories one time. He said that you don't want to peak at the wrong time. You want to peak at the right time. And especially his side, the U15s, I mean, they had a rough patch. They had a good patch. Then they went through a really rough patch. Then they picked it up. And I thought they were going into the MLS Next Cup in really good form and really good fashion. And I won't say I'm disappointed. I'm not going to say that I'm let down because it is the youth. They do have all their young careers ahead of them. But I just really thought that we were going to do better in that round of the round of 30. But I do want to send some love to the U15s. I do want to send some love to the U16s and of course the U18s. Nothing to be said about you got a whole youth career ahead of you, and you'll be back next year, just like a lot of them were saying. And I'm excited to see what they become, what they grow into. And I'm happy that a lot of these boys are in our academy system. And like I said, I'm excited to just see them grow. For the 18s, there are some players that were already promoted to the FCito side. I'm talking about guys like Santi Maines. I'm talking about guys like Mo. Multiple players. Chris Avila, Beto Avila's brother, if I'm not mistaken, the guy that scored 2 goals on Austin FC from El Paso in that Open Cup match. So there's roots in this academy system from real Austin boys that are coming up, and I'm hoping that they're able to make that jump from the 18 to the FCito side to hopefully to the first team side. And that's the biggest jump, FCito to the first team. It's huge. It's enormous. But I have confidence that we will be able to get some good things from our academy system to our second team side and to one day to the first team level. With that conversation right now that we're going through, we could talk about FCito, Austin FC2 side. They got the result in extra time in PKs, right? I say the result because MLS Next Pro does award those 2 extra points, or that extra point when you win the penalty shootout. But FCito, they got the win against the Portland Timbers too. You got to be happy for them, of course. Picking up the extra points away from home is massive, 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 massive for any FC2 side, right? Any MLS Next Pro side. And I just want to give a shout out to Irvin Torres for giving the assist to Michael Burton. He provided the finish there into the back of the net. And also another shout out to Charlie Fowler, goalkeeper, new goalkeeper. He dressed out for the U.S. men's national team camp, but he's not a U.S. men's national team registered player, which was funny. They were giving him a lot of stuff there on the comments of the Instagram post, but he was just training with them. He was just working out with them, giving them that extra boost, that extra help that they needed. But like I said, shout out to Irvin Torres, Michael Burton, and also Charlie for being just really 3 key mans of the match against Portland Timbers 2 side. And also, there was one other thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that CJ Fodre continues to see minutes for Austin FC 2, but not Austin FC's first team side. Now, although there would be something to be concerned about I want to shed some positive light onto that is that at least he's getting some minutes, right? At least he's getting some minutes there. I don't know if you maybe want to, kind of see that as a positive. I was thinking earlier today that, hey, are we wasting CJ Fodre on the FC2 side? I don't mean to disrespect the players that are also on Austin FC2 or anything like that, but I thought that CJ was ready to be a guy at least on the Austin FC's first team bench, but we're seeing him more involved with FC2. Like I said, at least he's getting his minutes. But what's going on with that situation with Austin FC, CJ Fodre? What happened there? For me, I love to see when he came on, when he comes on for Austin FC. He's a good substitution late in the game. He has speed. He has physicality. He can hide the ball into the corner, as we've seen. He also has an insane jump to be able to header the ball for a player that's making the overlap. We've seen that against Houston when Rigoni got his last goal for the club. So many things that CJ Fodre can give you, can provide you, but we're not doing anything with him, just with FC2. And I'm happy he's getting his minutes. I'd be happier if he was getting some action with the first team, and I know he would be too. But we'll just leave it at that. But last thing, of course, the schedule you got here coming up: Seattle on the 28th, and LAFC coming up July the 5th. So keep an eye on that. Big games coming up for Austin FC. FC2 returns to Austin June 27th against SKC. They've been on the road for a while, but they come back against SKC. So we'll be more than happy to receive the lads back here at home. But let's get into some listener questions, of course. Now, we did get some listener questions that were sent in from the folks on our Discord. I asked a question. I was like, hey, send in the listener questions. We'll get through them. And there's not a lot of Austin FC stuff going on, so I felt like it was a perfect time to kind of just knock them out the park. We'll talk about the Copa Oro and the Club World Cup after this segment here. But like I said, excited for the team to come back. Excited for Austin FC to end their extra point away from home. Big performances from the lads, and also happy, sad, bittersweet from the academy. I saw you guys build up, and I saw you guys crash out. But hey, we'll be back next year. But all right, listener questions here from the folks on Discord, the folks from Patreon. Now, another question here we have from Ricardinho SCP. Shout out my G. Really cool picture that he has with Diego Rubio when he was young. I really wish he would post that on Twitter, on X, or on Instagram. I don't know if he has yet. And maybe tag Rubio, see what Rubio thinks. But he says, what is your MLS 2025 All-Star starting 11? It's a really good question, mate. That's a really good question. And for that, I'm going to have to pull up the MLS, photo of the players that are kind of most voted into or whatnot. I did have a recent interview with a reporter by the name of Bruno Fernandez, not the soccer player from Manchester United. No, this lad here, he's local here from Austin. And, he was asking me about who I thought could be possible all-stars for Austin FC. And I gave him three names. I said, number one, Brad Stuber, for obvious reasons. He always saves the club from, just situation save after save after save after save. I also mentioned Brandon Vasquez because I've seen him being used in graphics promoting the All-Star game, in tons of graphics that the league has put out. So that's kind of a little bit of a red flag. I don't know if it's a red flag, but it kind of just it tells you everything that you need to know, that BV is probably already selected for this. And I also heard a little bit of a rumor that he was shooting some kind of content with the league, with MLS at Q2 Stadium a couple weeks back. Can't confirm it. Just a little rumor, a little bit of a birdie there. Maybe sometimes we get some stuff here and there. But don't be surprised if you see BV9 in that all-star line. Another question here sent in on the Discord chat from IG Shannon Hudson. He says, end of season goal contributions, predictions, all competition for Uzuni, Vasquez, and Bukhari. Let's see. It'll be a tough one. But Brandon Vasquez finishes with 15 goals, all competitions. 15 goals, all competitions, Brandon Vasquez. Mirto Uzuni, the assist for BV. I don't know how many assists for BV. I'm more focused on his scoring. So BV, Brandon Vasquez, 15 goals. Mirto Uzuni, will be ambitious with him. He could score some braces. I'd be happy if they were hat tricks as well. But there's still a lot of games to be played in all competitions. I'm going to go with 8 goals for Mirto Uzuni. 8 goals, all competitions to end with. And assists, I'm going to go with 5. 5 assists for Mirto Uzuni. Bukhari, 8 to 10 assists. Goals, 5 to 6. 5 to 6 for Bukhari. 5 to 6 goals for Osman Bukhari. I know they're not that high. I know they're not very, or they're not pretty much double digit, but half of the season gone. Don't really think that they're going to score an insane amount of goals, but hopefully they score a healthy amount of goals. Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. A healthy amount of goals. Ghost of You 94, my G, he says, out of all the failed transfer rumors that we have experienced over the years, which one is the one you really wanted to happen, and what would you have done to go from no deal to deal? All of the failed transfer rumors that we have experienced over the years, which one is the one that you really wanted to happen? Wow, that's a good question, man. Out of all the ones, you got to go with the KDB. You got to go with the KDB one. I don't think there was another one that was more important or that shook the fan base as much as the KDB one, and even more painful when you realize that it could have been possible. The thing that kind of hurt the most about the KDB one was that it was possible. It was not one that was like, oh, that could have never happened. It was not real, whatnot. I have a tweet here from Eric Goodman. He says, "No move to MLS for KDB. It appears earlier this month I reported that De Bruyne's camp reached out to Austin FC, as they likely did with other MLS clubs, expressing interest in a move to the States, but with the salary expectations beyond what Austin FC could reasonably consider. It's very possible that no other MLS club was comfortable with his asking." Put it up here for you guys. That was not comfortable with his asking, I'm sure, because of his salary or whatnot, not because of the price, right? Or perhaps the opportunity to join the Italian champs came in late as he jumped at it. Excited to see him don a different shade of light blue next season. Perhaps MLS can wait. Excited to see him don a different shade of light blue next season. Perhaps MLS can wait. So I'd say KDB one, hands down. The KDB one. Imagine if he would have came to Austin FC, would have been insane. Situation just wasn't there, and was it because of money? Obviously, Eric Goodman is reporting that, but it would have been great to see KDB in Austin, Texas. Now, another thing here we have from Taco More Salsa Bar. He says, Mirto called out Dani for being a, quote, not of this world, end of quote, alien in the Lexus ride-along video. Who else on the team is an alien in disguise, and why? It's a good question. It's a very good question. Who else is an alien on the team in disguise, and why? If Dani is an alien, by Mirto Uzuni standards, then Owen is an alien. He's an alien from a far, far away galaxy that came here on a homegrown assignment, maybe kind of like how Goku came to Earth at one point. But Owen Wolf, if Dani Pereira is out of this world, then I have to mention Owen Wolf as well. Why is he out of this world? Well, because we've seen such great things from the lad. He's very young, very mature for his age, and he's just growing. I don't think we've seen the best version of Owen Wolf yet, and we've seen great things from him. So excited to see what he turns into. Excited to see what transfer fee Owen Wolf brings in one day for Austin FC, because he will not be here forever. Out of this world player, if Dani Pereira is an alien, then Owen Wolf is one as well. You got to give it to Brad Stuver. He's got to be an alien from a planet that exports goalkeepers with an insane amount of reflexes, right? A reflex out of this world, I must say. Go Brad Stuver the cat, Brad Stuver the octopus, right? I got to put some respect on his name. Who else is an alien out of this world for Austin FC? I said Stuver. We had Dani Pereira as the bar. Owen Wolf as well. We can mention Guilherme Biru, alien as well. Alien from a planet that exports nothing but warriors on the pitch and is not afraid to take on not one, two Galaxy players, but the coach as well. We remember the clock back against Greg Vanney in that Galaxy game. And also not afraid to take on Ricky Puig. Sent him flying. Looked like Woody and Buzz Lightyear when they were dropping into Andy's car in that Toy Story movie. But I'd say those guys. I mean, so many good players for Austin FC, but not everybody can be ET out of this world. So Owen Wolf, why not? Stuver, for sure. Guilherme Biru, why not? a lot of good players on this side. I mean, Bukhari, the DPs, Uzuni as well. But from what I've seen, I really like those guys I mentioned. Now we have here another question here. Shout out to Manji Takamore Sosa Bar, by the way. And also he says, please recap all the currently active transfer rumors and which ones fit in the roster because I don't think we have enough senior international spots for all of them. And you're right to call out the senior international roster spots because there are only 2 available for Austin FC. I have the roster profile here in front of me. Now there's 2 open. You have Guilherme Biru, Bukhari, Dubersarski, Hadro Brian, Versavovic, Svatok, Uzuni. They're all taking up international spots, and you have 2 open, position 8 and position 9. Now, of course, you can always buy them. You can always, trade for them or whatnot, but Austin FC has to make the move for that. Now, the recent rumors are Lanzini, center attacking mid from River Plate. He's 32 years old, which a lot of folks have been pointing out. International spot needed. Mikael Nade from Saint Etienne, 26-year-old center back. International spot most likely needed, if I'm not mistaken. Kervin Tuti Andrade from Fortaleza. He plays in Brazil right now with Fortaleza, 20 years old. A very young player. I believe he's 20, if I'm not mistaken. Center attacking mid. Probably international spot needed. Nicky Belloco, free agent in the summer. 25-year-old midfielder. Probably an international spot needed. A dual citizen, but not with the U.S. So if I missed a transfer rumor, make sure to let me know. And I can actually add one in here. There was a rumor that came out. I don't even want to address it as a rumor, but there was a bit of information, fake news that came out from an account on Twitter X called Chivas Extra, apparently linking Brandon Vasquez with the team of Guadalajara, talking about Chivas. Just fake news. It just doesn't make sense. There was no sources mentioned. There was nothing credible to this post. Brandon Vasquez left Rayados to leave Liga MX, to leave Mexico, because there was rumors coming out that his family just wasn't comfortable living away from the States. And he just seems like he's enjoying his time in Austin. He's already linking up with companies here that are sponsoring him. He's kind of putting this team on his back. The fan base loves him. He's bringing crowd to Austin FC, to the stadium. I just don't see this happening. If Chivas has been interested in Brandon Vasquez, we got to be very, very clear. But it's never happened before. If it hasn't happened, then it should have happened when he left Rayados. But like I said, he made the move to leave Rayados because he wanted to be more comfortable in the States with his family. So you can just chalk that to fake news, smoke from Liga MX pages that are just trying to generate some type of news, some kind of controversy. And I'll say this. This is most likely coming from Chivas ownership. They're leaking this information on purpose, or not necessarily leaking this information from the ownership, but it's coming from somebody associated maybe with the ownership or in that inner circle, and is putting out these little bits of information. Because it's also, the thing is, it's not that Chivas has, not that they're initiating any talks with him. No, apparently they just added him to a list, of transfers. And this page felt like there was a need to make a whole post about it, Chivas Extra. And to me, what could be true about this is that this is Chivas media generating noise, generating smoke to tell the fans, hey, we're trying to open the wallet for this offseason. We're trying to open the checkbook to show the fan base that we are ambitious again, that we want to build something to rival America again, to rival Cruz Azul, to rival Toluca, who just won the championship, because Chivas is slowly slipping away from the grande conversation because of some mediocre years. So like I said, they want to show the fans that they're in the market, that they're hitting the market, that they're never going to get a guy like Brandon Vasquez. First of all, Austin is not going to let him go for anything less than they paid for. I don't care if his market value dropped. They're not getting anything less than 11, 10 million for Brandon Vasquez. So good luck with that, Chivas. It's a club that has shown to be cheap as of late, because if they wanted Vidi so bad, if they weren't cheap, they could have got him in his Cincinnati moments before he went to Rayados. But they were cheap. They were cheap, and end of story there. End of story there. But yes, we will need international spots, so we'll see what happens there. Another question here, Rigo Pigueno. He says, when do we get a free the leaf tifo? What's free the leaf? Does it have to do with something about free the nipple? Free the leaf? I don't know, mate, but I do love the tifos that Option C puts out. We need another maybe another Groot or Marvel tifo. That'll be fun to see for sure. Now, some listener questions also from Instagram from the story. We have George Love Donuts. He says most shocking result in the Club World Cup or Gold Cup. Shocking in the Club World Cup, Flamengo Chelsea. I think maybe that one. That one really shocked me because I had Chelsea being one of my dark horses in this tournament, and now they have to put everything they got into the final match day of their group. That was a little bit of a wake up call to a lot of European fans out there that were kind of maybe dissing this Club World Cup or dissing the South American teams. It's really just a hit, a fist on the table from the South American country, Brazil, and all these countries in South America, CONMEBOL really in general, just showing the world like, hey, footy, soccer, football is not just played in Europe. It's also played down here. Have you ever heard of something called Libertadores? You should check it out. You should check it out sometime, European fans, European snobs, if I must say. And that's one of my favorite things about the Club World Cup right now is the fact that a lot of people are starting to discover what Brazil really is. Not just the national team, the international team, because a lot of people are very nostalgic about the early 2000s and the late 90s Brazils or whatnot, and Neymar. And they don't think about the league too much. But I think with everything that we've seen at the Club World Cup right now, folks probably will argue if the Brazilian league is a top five league in the world. And I think that's a healthy conversation to have. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. And I just want to give credit to Alex, football critic, because meeting him really just opened my eyes, shed a lot of light to the Brazilian league, because before that, it was just the Argentinian league was just talked about from South America. But the Brazilian league, I really do think that this Club World Cup has brought so much attention to, and there's a lot of players that will benefit at the end of the day, maybe with big transfers, big transfer moves to some big sides in Europe. And like I said, the European teams know that there's talent in South America because they continuously poach talent from these sides. Vinicius, Rodrigo, Neymar, just to name three. So many players come from these countries in South America. Fans now need to put the respect on the leagues that these players come from and realize, like, wow, they're playing serious soccer in these countries, in these parts of the world that maybe I wasn't too aware of. So the Flamengo versus Chelsea one, I might give it to that one. I don't know if there was another one that shocked people, but the Flamengo Chelsea one really, really took me out of my seat. For the Copa Oro, the Gold Cup, I might say the Canada versus Curacao 1-1. Maybe it's recent or whatnot. The Canada 6-0 against Honduras was also very interesting. But the 1-1 I thought was very, very interesting because I thought Canada was going to take that match. Curacao is not a country that you associate great football with, but we're seeing a lot of small nations really just grow in this Copa Oro. A lot of big teams aren't at their best. Maybe you could say at this Gold Cup, they didn't really take their top players, their best teams to this tournament. You can argue about that, but some small nations really making themselves their presence felt at this Gold Cup. So that 1-1 Canada Curacao, and also the Flamengo Chelsea game at the Club World Cup. Shout out to my G George. ATX Trophy says biggest surprise this season, biggest disappointment this season. Biggest surprise this season. That's a great question. Biggest surprise this season, biggest disappointment this season. Biggest disappointment this season was having to wait until the half point of the year of the season to see some results, to see some of these players finally click it on. Um, of course, everybody wanted it to happen right off the bat. Didn't. We were hoping it happened a couple weeks later. Didn't. Hoping it happened a couple weeks later after that. Didn't. And now you're officially at the halfway point of the season. You get these back-to-back wins under your belt again, and you're looking to make it three in a row. It took a while. It took a minute, and we're still not officially there yet. So that's my biggest disappointment. The fact that we're still not at that level that a lot of folks wanted us to be at. I know it takes time. I know it's a process, but I could be disappointed at the length that it's taken us to get there. And I'm sure we will get there. It's a long journey. Matthew McConaughey says it's a 100-year war. I don't want to wait 100 years. But disappointed at the fact that it's taken us a little bit of time to, get it clicking. But the biggest surprise, maybe Owen Wolf.
carrying this team on his back in the midfield when we're talking about minutes, when we're talking about shifts, when we're talking about just maturity at this side and just being able to stay healthy above all, just staying healthy because you could be the greatest player in the world, but if you're constantly injured, you know, what good are you to the side? Maybe in your experience and your coaching, but then you have the coaching staff there for that, right? But Owen Wolf, big surprise, I will say. Are there any other surprises on this team? I mean, Mirto Uzuni hasn't really, gave us his version yet. Brandon Vasquez, you knew he was going to be this guy. Bukhari hasn't really been at that level yet. Maybe another surprise, John Gallagher. The fact that he's been able to stay at this level consistently on both sides of the pitch, is that a big surprise? Maybe folks have seen it coming, but I'm surprised that he's able to maintain that level because there has to be a drop off somewhere, right? Where is the drop off for Gallagher? Who knows? It's not here yet. So big surprise is that he's able to stay at that level. Curious to see what folks think at home, right? Just a couple more listener questions here. We also had would Austin FC dominate in a USL league with a pro/rail system? That's from Grand Line Marks. No, I don't think so. This current version of Austin FC is in danger of being relegated. Yeah, right now they're in a playoff position, but just a couple weeks ago, Austin was in 10th. Just a couple years ago, Austin FC was contender for bottom of the table in the Western Conference. So no, I don't want to put this Austin FC into a USL pro relegation system. All that stuff. Not just yet. Not just yet. And hey, maybe being relegated is what a team like Austin FC would need to really just kind of get it going to kick it up a notch. But it's a tough conversation to have because of the investment that the league asks for from owners to be put into the system. San Diego, hundreds of millions of dollars. Austin FC, couple maybe like 150 million dollars to get into the league, and it's just an enormous amount of money that you have to pay to get into the MLS. So I don't think any owner would be fond of being relegated. But when you're talking about the football, when you're talking about the level of playing the product for the fan, pro rail is the way to go. But would I want this Austin FC side to be in that system the way they're playing right now? No, because relegation, it would be looming for this Austin FC side. But hopefully we get out of there. I talked about putting results together and being able to turn it up. Hopefully we get out of this relegation side conversation. Although we are in playoffs right now, it takes 2 losses to be put into the relegation zone. So no, I don't want Austin FC in that position right now. Hopefully that answers the question. Now, most over and underrated player for Austin FC right now, sent in from Janex330. Most overrated player, I think, because of the things that were said, the money that was paid, the hype going into the signing, the team that he came from. Although I'm not giving up on him yet, I think the fans want me to say Mirto Uzuni as the most overrated player right now for Austin FC. Of all time, no. No, I mean, there's other players, right, that kind of go into the conversation, but I think they're asking right now. The signing of Uzuni is overrated, not him, but the signing, the money that was paid, right, the what was said, right, when he came in. Of course, he said that he was going to break records. What he said also after some games, telling Muka that he sees more than him, he sees things better than him, and his output just hasn't been there. But as I argued earlier in the pod, I said that he was waiting to meet his son. There could be things mentally that have been holding him back because of these moments that he's been missing out on with his family, with his new family, right? And although I make these arguments, the fans, they don't have that much patience. The fans, they're gonna say, "Oh, it's Mirto Uzuni," and because of the output, I feel like that's an easy thing to say that Uzuni is right now the overrated player for Austin FC. He can easily change that, very easily change that, and become one of the successes for Austin FC this year. But it depends on him. It depends on the coaching staff to put him in positions that he will succeed in. But as of right now, his numbers are overrated when you look at the money that was spent to bring him in. Who's underrated for Austin FC right now? You got to look at the defenders, I must say, because of the money that's paid to them. I'm looking at Brandon Hindsight, underrated because of the performance he gives you. Yes, he has one or two mistakes in him, but think of all the positive interventions that he has had for the Verde and Black. I got to give it to Brendan Hindsight. I got to give it to Alexander Svatok. I got to give it to Mikhail Dessler. He does get his love, though. Got to give it to Guilherme Ribeiro, who also gets his love, people like myself and other fans. But there are some underrated players on this Austin FC set. And the first ones that come to mind are Brendan Hindsight, Alexander Svatok, a little bit of unsung heroes. John Gallagher as well. I feel like not enough people are giving him the credit that he deserves. Very, very underrated player. Also on the international scale, I don't think Ireland is a team that can have the luxury of saying, well, we got so much depth at this position that we don't look at a guy like John Gallagher. I think Ireland is a national team that could benefit from a gentleman like John Gallagher. He's a player that does good things for you on the defensive side and also on the offensive side of things. So at the national team level, why is he not being looked at? And I know he's had an interview before where this question was asked, and he was like, hey, it's not up to me. I can just put the best performances that I can out there. And he has. He has. He's been an all-star for the league that he plays in. Ireland, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do you not have people on some kind of scouting network or something? Why isn't this guy on your radar? So, yes, throw in John Gallagher there in the conversation of the most underrated players for Austin FC. Now, I think we got just one more listener question to get through. Thank you, everybody that sent them in and also on Discord. We have here Stephanie Munoz 713 says, what does Brad use in his hair to keep it in place the whole game? I wouldn't be surprised if it's moco de gorila, honestly. Sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if it's moco de gorila, although Brad is a guy that likes to use maybe organic products or all natural products. So I'm curious, what does Brad use? What does this guy use for the product in his hair? I think that's something to ask maybe midweek. Next time we get him on the mic in front of the media, I'll make sure to put it in the notes for Alex. Hey, the fans want to know. Ask him what he uses for his hair. And if this has been addressed before, I'm sorry for not knowing what the guy keeps on his grocery list when he goes to the store to buy products for his hair. It's just not something that I'm very too interested in. But the fans asked me today, and I will now make it a priority to find out what Brad Stuber uses for his hair. I will say this, though. Last game against Red Bulls New York, I was in the locker room talking to the players with the rest of the media. Brad Stuber has elevated his drip. I don't know what it is. I don't know who he talked to. Does he have a stylist now? I think he has a partnership with Burberry or whatnot. But my days, leaving the locker room against Red Bulls New York, my guy was dapper. My guy was just on another level. The Burberry sneakers, the fit. Has he been talking to Brandon Vasquez? The lockers are pretty close. I don't know what it is, man, but Brad Stuber has elevated his style this season at least. Maybe that's one of the big surprises. Brad Stuber style, the drip elevation for my G, Brad Stuber. But those were all the listener questions. I do appreciate everybody that sent them in. Now, just to touch up on a little bit of the Copa Oro, the Gold Cup that came to Q2 Stadium. Of course, the U.S. men's national team, they played Saudi Arabia here in Austin. The attendance was criticized, right, folks? It was mentioned that there should have been more people out there. There should have been more folks really just cheering on the U.S. men's national team, but it just wasn't the case. Now, there are arguments that need to be made, right? There is the fact that it was midweek, the fact that it was on a Thursday, like I said, midweek. It was also kind of early. Folks were saying it was a little bit early. And the ticket prices, more than anything. More than anything, I heard the ticket prices. Now, $92 was what really was locked in on the whole week. There was really nothing to bring them down from there. Folks really just weren't giving up on that $92. With the discount, if you got lucky, it brought it down to 70 something. I know that there was folks that said that they found like a $40 ticket and snagged it up as soon as they could. Lucky ducks there. But credit to the fans that did buy those expensive tickets because they got to see a win against Saudi Arabia. Now, it was an important match in Group D because we got to remember that Saudi had a good performance in the World Cup. They beat Argentina in the first match day. Remember the guy that was like, "Where is Messi? Where is Messi?" Didn't see him at Q2. At least I don't think he was there. But the vibes were pretty cool. There were very Middle Eastern vibes at Q2 Stadium. There was some pop-up events that were all over Q2. There was just really cool. like a really cool atmosphere, at Q2, and it was great to see this multicultural, kind of atmosphere hit Q2. We've seen it in Copa America, but we saw it with Qatar. But I felt a different vibe with Saudi. I felt a different vibe with them. But more than happy to welcome them to Austin to Q2, and hopefully maybe we can get another friendly sometime soon. I don't know. But that was that match. Heavily criticized it in the media, but I will say that the good parts came from Chris Richards. He highlighted the fact that the players love Q2 Stadium. He loves the facilities. So I'm wondering if maybe one day Chris Richards could come play in Austin, Texas. He is a Crystal Palace defender right now. First American to win the FA Cup in a very long time. I think 100 plus years, something like that. But he says Austin is kind of like one of our adopted homes, and you have to protect your home as much as possible. Love that from Chris Richards there. Shout out to my G, Alex, for getting that little bit of information there from Chris. And also before the match, as the U.S. men's national team had trainings at the St. Davis Performance Center, there was media availability opportunities. And Chris Richards mentioned this before the game. He said, "We love Austin. I love the facilities. We love the fans and the environment. We're looking forward to it. You see it every weekend with Austin FC, and they always bring out a good crowd." So you love to see the praise from a U.S. men's national team player like Chris Richards, right? It's great to see him give credit to the fans that have shown out for Austin FC and the U.S. men's national team before, and also guys like Jack McGlynn. Although he's a Houston Dynamo player, he did mention in the media availability opportunity that just having played at Q2 Stadium recently for Open Cup, he knows that the atmosphere can be very tough for opponents, and he was looking forward to it. Although criticized, the attendance was criticized. I don't think that the players got what they expected fully, but hopefully next time those prices they come down, because that's ultimately what really stopped this fan base from filling up Q2 Stadium. Now, some other matches that went on, of course. Now, this one was the movie. Guatemala against Panama. As you can see here on screen, it was a complete takeover outside of Q2. Now, the Chapines showed out. I do got to give credit to the Panama fans. There were also a lot of fans out there. A goalkeeper coach from the Austin FC Academy, Calixto Barrios, he was out there supporting Panama. Love to see it with his friends and family out there. A lot of tailgating going on. I love that as well. Why don't we do more of that with Austin FC? And this was one thing that was just bouncing around in my head as I saw the crowds at Q2 for Guatemala, Panama, and the crowds at Shell Energy Stadium for Honduras, El Salvador. What is missing to tap into those communities, into those fan bases? It can't just be buying the best players from those national teams, from those countries. It can't just be, because even if that was it, then you'd be in a pickle, because they don't really produce those kind of players, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe once in a while you get a fantastic player from Honduras. It does happen from El Salvador. It does happen from Guatemala. It does happen, but it's difficult. So is it a marketing thing? Is it just a content thing that they have to be putting out more of? What does Houston and Dynamo have to do, and Austin FC have to do, to tap into the Chapin market, to tap into the Panama market, to tap into Honduras, El Salvador? Because let's be honest, at the Austin game, it's a lot of U.S. men's national team folks when Austin FC plays. And it's just a reality. When the Open Cup comes around and tickets are cheap, you see a lot more families. I see a lot more of my Mexican homies even pull up too. And it's something that I notice. I mean, sometimes when Austin FC plays, I hear people say, "Oh, I don't want to watch this team because the tickets are too high." Although tickets have been falling and people have been giving out and really just letting go of their season ticket holding membership, sometimes tickets do price out fans at Q2. And if it's not the tickets, it's the concessions. I mean, I don't know if you can take a family to Q2 and get food there for everybody, a family of two or of three, and walk out of there without having spent $100. I mean, folks think about that as well. And the economy is not great for everybody right now. That's another reality, right? The economy is not great for everybody. Everybody's not living the same life. People have hardships. And right now, a lot of folks just don't have a lot of extra money to spend on national team events and also, sporting events like this. So do you have to work with those communities? Do you have to have more affordable nights? I've seen a lot of sports teams have nights where food is cheap, tickets are cheap, maybe 2 for 1. Bring a kid free or whatnot. I mean, Pluckers on Tuesdays, kids eat free. If Pluckers be doing that, Austin FC, why aren't we doing something to bring in family, something to bring in that community? Because I saw a takeover at Q2 of Guatemala, and a lot of those folks, I've never seen them at Q2. I did see Austin FC jersey sprinkled here and there. I saw a couple Austin FC academy people, players and coaches there, but I need to see more of those fans from those communities come to Austin FC games, and I need to see the team do more to try to attract those fans. I'd love to. I'd love that. But just overall, a great experience to see the Copa Oro in Austin, the U.S. men's national team defeat Saudi Arabia at home thanks to a goal by Chris Richards. It was great to see, B sending us all the footage of the stuff going on in Houston. Houston did defeat El Salvador 2-0 with a very late goal, which was kind of cool to see the ball go very slowly into the back of the net. Shout out to my G Daniel and Iker, his little brother, that went to go see that match. It's cool to me. Copa Oro is cool to me, especially this game, Honduras, El Salvador. Is one of the biggest rivalries of Central America. And me growing up as Mexican, Copa Oro used to be huge. And everybody knew that Mexico was the dominant force in Copa Oro. Everybody knew. So every time that teams like Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador played against Mexico, all of my young friends when I was in elementary or middle school or in high school, it was almost like, yeah, we're playing Mexico. You guys are probably going to win, but it's going to be a fun game. We're going to still talk shit anyways, right? And when two teams like that play each other, I step back I'm a U.S. men's national team fan, Mexico fan as well, but you see it from a neutral point of view, and the smiles in some of these lads' faces that you saw from the reactions that we were posting on social media, the stuff that was making it onto the actual, broadcast, the smiles of fans of countries that maybe they don't get to win all the time. They don't get to feel the success that big CONCACAF teams like the U.S. men's national team and Mexico have experienced in their lifetime. To see the Honduras fans feel joy over El Salvador, it brought me joy. And I would have felt the same joy if it was the other way around, if El Salvador had beaten Honduras. It's great to see teams like that, fans of teams like that, experience joy, because every time they play Mexico, it usually goes in Mexico's favor. I know that they've gotten important wins over Mexico, historic wins over Mexico. I know that exists, that has happened, but in all time, Mexico just always has a beat down against these teams. And it made me feel happy to see Honduras fans beat El Salvador fans. Like I said, I would have felt the same way if El Salvador beat Honduras, because it's cool to see, the little guys of CONCACAF feel joy, because when they play Mexico, sometimes Mexico gets help from the referees, and it's so annoying that Mexico has to make it to the big stages all the time, maybe at the expense of teams like Honduras, El Salvador, Trinidad, Haiti, Guadalupe, because they get overlooked because of the markets, because of the money or whatnot. And I have friends that were at this stadium, and they were just so happy to see Honduras win, and it brought me joy because they're my friends, they're my homies, and they don't get to experience that often. Maybe it was just great. It was just great. I guess hopefully I explained that feeling well, but I'm a people person. I'm a people person. I love to see others experience the same joy that I feel as well. I like to see people happy. I might cap it at that. Now, to talk about the Club World Cup, just real quick. Now, I know I mentioned that the result that shocked me the most was the Flamengo versus Chelsea, and the fact that the Europeans are now woken up to what Brazil is, to what South America, to what CONMEBOL Libertadores is. That's the biggest thing for me. The fact that that light has now been shed onto South America. And this is something that a lot of Liga MX fans knew of. The quality down there, we know 100%, because so many years Liga MX has poached talent along with Europe. They've poached talent from South America because they're cheaper and they're better players. I mean, the MLB does it as well. I mean, you see so many players come from these countries of Central America, South America, the Caribbean as well. And you see a lot of these sports teams take advantage of the talent kind of before that they realize what talent that they can be, and that they cash in on it or whatnot. But now the world realizes, oh, that's why they consistently go after these players at these South American sides because the level is good. The level is great. And I do remember that when the Club World Cup was started to make noise around the world, when we talked about it on the pods with the guys on Spanish and English, I said that the winner could come from South America. Why? Because they have that fight. They have the grit that the Europeans just don't have at this time of year because the Europeans, what are they used to doing at this time of year? They're used to being on vacation. They're used to taking time off. I know the World Cup is going to be at this time next year, and they have to have that, at their mind as well. But we also see with the weather how much that's affecting some of these European sides, the UEFA sides, halftime and enjoying the second half or watching the second half from the locker room. I mean, we saw that with I believe it was the Dortmund players, if I'm not mistaken, or it was the Bayern. A German team's side went into the locker room to finish watching the second half because it was just too hot. And the South American sides are just eating those players up. They're just dicing them up. I mean, Real Madrid was able to pull their weight against Pachuca, but even they struggled in the first 20 minutes and got a red card because Salomon Rondon was able to work Raul Asensio to just a teacher level. I mean, a lot of dark arts and tricks are being pulled out by the South American sides, and the Europeans were just not ready for it, and the fans were not ready for it at all. And it's a party. I love everything that's going on. Unfortunately, there's a big problem going on in the world when talking about World War III and the war going on. But this is a little bit of a cool distraction, and it's not. It doesn't go away by being distracted by it. That situation is still there. I'm talking about the World War, but it's good to have something to at least maybe take your mind off of it for 2 hours. You watch a team that you've been supporting since you were a kid, or a team that you just found out about because their fan base was enormous, like the Japanese sides. I mean, oh my God, the Japanese teams have shown out incredibly in this Club World Cup. I mean, oh my God, there was the red diamonds, the jumping up and down that they had in the crowd. I mean, you just can't replicate that. And this Club World Cup is just proven itself to be more than what people thought it was going to be. It's proven to be a success, and hopefully, folks appreciate this tournament and are open to it coming back around. I know a lot of folks were not okay with it at first, but hopefully they have changed their mind. And guys like Harry Kane are saying that this was a really good tournament and they love what's going on. And like I said, hopefully folks are more open to future Club World Cups. And like B said, B called it. Brian called this. He said he doesn't know why, but he thinks that the Club World Cup is going to turn into the biggest competition in the world in the next coming years. And by the way that everybody is talking, by the way that I've seen stuff play out in the media and these games play out in the eyes of the fans, we could be headed in that direction. And if they have the best of the best going at it, why not? Why not? And I wore this shirt today for a reason. Usually I try to pick my outfits with the podcast to go in some kind of coordination. And today I wanted to wear this because Brazil is king. Brazil is king, undefeated at the Club World Cup, showing the world what they're about, showing why so many top teams have poached players from that country, from those leagues consistently, year after year after year. Brazil, if you doubted them, you got to say sorry. If you doubted the league, you got to say sorry. The Argentinian sides, you've known them. You gave them their respect. The Fluminenses, the Flamengos, all those teams, the Botafogos, I think they're owed an apology by a lot of people out there. But it is what it is. Now, to end the pod, ladies and gentlemen, now, the question that I skipped over a little bit about who my starting 11 is for the All-Stars, we can go at them. Now, there's categories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories, so we'll have to choose a little bit of multiple players here. At goalkeeper, Brad Stuver, he can play the first half, and then the second half can be finished out by either Dane St. Clair or Takaoka. I'd like to see that. But Brad Stuver, the first half is yours here in Austin, Texas. Now we move forward on defense, 2 center backs. I'll choose 2 center backs because I want a back 4. None of that back 3 mumbo jumbo because it is Liga MX, so I want a back 4. A left back position, why not throw in Jordi Alba? I think the MLS would want that. I think paying fans would want that as well. It is an all-star spectacle. Jordi Alba probably be there. We'll see. But you also have great players like Kai Wagner, Arston, who is right now with the U.S. men's national team doing great things there, and Hollingshead, and also a gentleman by the name of Daniel Lovitz. I know that he's a really good player himself. I'd like to throw in Guilherme Biro as one of Nico's picks. I know that Nico can take players, so why not throw Guilherme Biro in there? I think he can maybe get some minutes there. Who knows? But I would definitely start with Jordi Alba. My second pick would be Guilherme Biro to take some minutes off of Jordi Alba. And what an honor it would be for Jordi Alba to share minutes with Biro, right? Am I right? I think so. Now, at the right back position, of course, one right back, two center backs, and one left back. You have Alex Freeman, Andy Nahar, Mohamed Farsi. You also have Griffin Dorsey and Alex Roldan from Seattle. The right back position, I don't really have too much preference in here. I'd like to see Alex Roldan there, Seattle Club World Cup player as well. He's been represented for the MLS. But hey, why not? Why not just stick with Alex Freeman? He is the front runner at right back, so we'll stick with him. Now we move forward at the defensive mids. Now, how are we going to line up? Are we going to do a 4-3-3? Let's do a 4-3-3 because that's what I like the most. Now, our defensive mid, and we'll do an attacking 4-3-3 with, one destroyer in the back and the two players in the attack there with the three forwards leading up this team that we're building. Now, for the defensive mid, I'm going to go with Sebastian Berhalter from Vancouver. I know Sergio Busquets is in the mix. He can be the player to give Sebastian Berhalter some breathing time, right? If you want to sub him out. But I'll start Sebi Berhalter over Sergio Busquets there in that defensive place. I really like Sebastian Berhalter's long balls. I feel like he's developed as a player. And I really like what he said to, I believe it was the Austin American Statesman about his time at Austin FC. He said that it was one of the most important parts of his career as a young player. So start Sebi Berhalter. He's back in Austin. He knows what it's like to play here in this stadium in front of these people. Now, moving forward, the two attacking mids that we have in this lineup, I would like to have Evander there from Cincinnati, no question whatsoever. And this next one is difficult because my heart is torn between Diego Luna, Christian Espinosa. Of course, you have Lucio Costa. He's kind of had a little bit of an interesting saga there. I don't know if I want to add that drama to this team that I'm building. And you also have Pep Biel, who's done great things with Charlotte this year, but they've also had a little bit of a drop-off. You can tell he's only been voted on there by the fans. Of course, this is the top vote-getter graphic that we are displaying. But hey, give me Evander and give me Diego Luna with Christian Espinosa as a substitution. Now, forwards, right? We have here forwards. We have Leo Messi, Ty Maribo, Brian White, Denny Boanga, and Dreyer. I think this is a simple one, man. Give me Dreyer, give me Denny Boanga, give me Leo Messi, honestly. And where am I leaving Brian White in this situation? How many players have I even chosen? Do I have 11? Because somebody fact check me. I have one goalkeeper, one left back, two center backs, one right back. I know that's at least 5. Or 2 defensive midfielders, that's 6, 7. Or 2 attacking midfielders, 8, 9. So I need 2 forwards, right? 2 forwards here. We're going to go with Leo Messi and Denny Boanga. With substitutions, Brian White and Dreyer. I'm all over the place. I should have written these guys down. I'm sorry. If you're keeping up with me, you're like, where is this guy going with this team? But there's a lot to choose from. And there's also the question to factor in is how many Austin FC players are going to make it into this side. But you got to get the best of the best to face Liga MX, and we'll see what happens, what Coach Nico decides to put together. I'd go with the 4-3-3, but we'll see what he puts out there. Don't put a back 5 against Liga MX with this kind of team, Nico, although Ozzy did joke about that. He's going to say, we're going to have Coach Nico coach the MLS All-Stars. He's going to put a back 5. Imagine Coach Nico with Leo Messi. But Ozzy, let's give him a break. Time out, mate. But all right, y'all. We'll end the podcast here today. I know it was just me. Hopefully, you enjoyed the conversation, although it was just a lot of me. It was only me. But if you stuck to the end, make sure to check out the podcast next week. We'll be back in studio talking with the lads, going over what happens against Seattle, going over what happens in the midweek media availability. And, of course, if anything happens drastic in the next couple of days before the next podcast comes out, we will hop on it and we will get you something out there. But I'm Hernan. You can call me H. Great conversation here, and thank you for sticking with me. And we'll see you soon. Let me get this graphic out of the way. I'm Hernan. H, thank you for sticking with me to the very end, and we'll see you next week.